But now is the time for all these, the Dan wagon's about to come out, where you start latching your wagon to like 7, 8 different quarterbacks. And then whenever we get to November, December, you can go back and say, I said.
Told you.
Bingo.
I knew it.
Bingo. I wish I had an arm extendo so I could pat my back a few more times, is what Dan Orlovsky does about November, December. But this top 10 quarterback ranking thing that came out, that ESPN asked executives and scouts and coaches for their ranking came out, and you've been talking about this all morning. I've seen you get very heated. I didn't hear everything you said, but I saw your eyes get real big with what everybody else has said. How do you feel about this list? Is this where you kind of sit it? And is this the dumbest thing of all time to kind of take the ideas of a slew of people and try to make it as if it's one person's concept?
Yeah, so I've been on this for, I feel like a couple years now, but certainly this offseason that the whole top 5, top 10 quarterback conversation probably needs to be altered to a top 8, top 14 group because we just have so many good high level.
So 5 goes to 8, 10 goes to 14.
Okay. Well, like look at this list right here. Okay, so give me your top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. You're going to piss some people off and you're not going to give certain guys like their proper justice when it comes to top group. Like Justin Herbert obviously is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. CJ Stroud obviously a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Aaron, when healthy, obviously a top 5. But I'm not taking Lamar or Josh or Matthew out. So that's what I'm saying. Like there's the group of high-end quarterbacks is greater than it was years ago, and so many of them are young. So that's part of this when it comes to that grouping. You guys have heard me say that, that I think we need to have a bigger conversation about the numbers that we use when it comes to that stuff.
All right, hey, hold on one second, though. Let's do the bigger conversation, and let's just actually try to change sports media here. The quarterback obviously makes all the money, makes gets all the credit, gets all the blame, which is certainly unfair. And it's been obviously categorized as the hardest position in all of sports because everything you have to know. But, man, the situation around you really, really alters everything. Yeah, I mean, it certainly changes.
If we had a conversation about it, Pat, if you took this list that has, 16 names on it, right? How many of those guys do most teams, or how many of those guys win games for their team? More often than not every game, but you as an organization win games because of those guys. Patrick, for sure, yes, right?
Yeah, I would say. But
Josh Allen, for sure, yes.
But they ran the ball and played great defense last year.
Right.
So that was like their entire thing. That was their entire thing. Patrick Mahomes actually came out last year and said, I've had to learn to be a guy that understands that, hey, our defense can win us a game and our run game can. And he said he actually evolved and became a better quarterback because it wasn't just me. So it's like Patrick Mahomes could definitely win you a game. We all 1,000% agree. But last year, that wasn't the story of the Chiefs team that won a bunch of games and won the Super Bowl. So I assume there's some asshole that's in that list that could vote and be like, well, is Patrick still? It's like, so it's, but so you know what I'm saying? Like Joe Burrow, definitely.
Totally.
Joe Burrow is definitely a guy, but without Mixon in the backfield, is that going to be a different, it's Lamar. Like all these things are so subjective and difficult. And even from my position, like Andrew Luck won a lot of games whenever we were behind. And then he would just come figure out the other team, and boom, we come back and win that thing. I'm the punter. Lowest, on the entire thing. Let's say in the middle of one of those comebacks, I hit a shank and just give the other team short field. All of a sudden, Andrew Luck's comeback of this guy's was ruined by the person that's the bottom of the roster, last person, because the other team was able to kick a field goal and he wasn't able to come back and win. It's like everything is so ridiculously dependent upon other shit that all this stuff just gets like kind of blown out of proportion. I legitimately feel that way. But boy, is it good fodder just to say, you said C.J. Stroud with 1 year in his belt, certainly top 5. Then you said Aaron Rodgers, well, if he's healthy. Like, that is certainly a whole conversation.
Then a guy like Brock, speaking of the team, a guy like Brock Purdy, who's put up unbelievable numbers since he's been the guy. Everybody just looks at, the surrounding cast, the great defense, the great play caller, all these different things. But he's going out there every week and been, typically the best play caller on the field, the best, trigger man on the field week in and week out. So, but he's not even in the top 10. Come on, Dan. So now I know this is.
That's what we're saying.
Sure
it's hard to take all this seriously. Yeah, it's hard to take it all seriously because you were the first guy to say this Brock Purdy guy sucks. Isn't that Dan Orlovsky?
He did.
Was that you, Dan?
Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, you dropped
Sam
Darnold.
No, you guys were making that up. I didn't say that.
But aren't you?
I actually said the opposite.
No, that is a lie.
We can pull that.
Gumpy will find it.
A fact.
You need to compliment Gumpy soon, because if not, Gumpy will just put his little splunking flashlight on, and he will go back and hear you say, "You put Mac Jones in that San Francisco, he would do just
They're
as
better.
good,
Yeah,
maybe even better." I think.
Win multiple Super
But you said that as just like a take on Kyle Shanahan. It wasn't a take on Brock Purdy. But whenever you look at this list and like you think about everything we just chatted about, Dan, do you think it's mightily unfair the way we talk about quarterbacks? Do you think it is 100% how we should, because how much money they're making, they should be the ones that take all the blames? Like, and how do you think the quarterbacks feel about getting all the credit whenever they know that their team is potentially the ones that helped them out, and then also taking all the blame? Like, just the state of all this shit as a quarterback, how do you think it goes?
Yeah, I think the way that we talk about quarterbacks is awful, and that's when I feel like I have, Pat, when I first got into TV, I remember people asking, and I would always say, one of the reasons why I want to do this is because I want everyone to realize there's other good quarterbacks in the world other than Tom Brady, or there's other good coaches in the world other than Bill Belichick. And we talk about quarterbacks in either the lateral comparison to where they were drafted and how much money they get paid, or in the lateral comparison to who else is the best one going. So it was always, well, Peyton Manning, but he's not Tom Brady. And, well, that doesn't mean Peyton Manning's not unbelievable, but he's not Tom Brady. Well, it doesn't mean that he's not unbelievable. Well, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, well, they're not Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't mean that they're not unbelievable. And so it's always this comparison game, and and that's kind of why I brought up that point initially of how many of these guys do we truly believe win games for their organization? And there's not a ton of them. There's maybe 5, 6 at the max. That doesn't mean that those other guys, the 7, 8, 9 to 14, 15 world, they're not awesome players. They're not in that unbelievable stratosphere, and they need a little bit better pass protection, or more another third option as the pass catcher, because they're not those guys. So yeah, the way we talk about quarterbacks is ridiculous, and that's why people hate me.
In my eyes, well, but Dan, you do a great job. You got to take hacks at everything.
Yep, it's awesome.
I mean, it's your job. I mean, you have to. It's
the voice of the quarterback
of football.
Yeah. When you speak of the quarterback position, Dan is the guy. Man,
he's got a little iPad with a little touchscreen.
Yep.
Or he does a full-on song and dance about it.
Good stuff.
It's very good shit. Yeah. It is. It is
like Kirk Cousins should be in your top 10.
Really?
Really? I mean, 5 of his last 6 years, his passer rating's over 100. Last year, he was on track for like 40 touchdowns and 10 picks before the injury.
On track.
I'm a Cousins guy,
He's
personally.
Really
but I think the way these guys should be judged is just like, I think there's the great ones, and you know who the hell they are. Okay? We know who the great ones are.
Yes.
There's only a few of them, and that's the reason why they're the great ones. Like, you can't just have. Then there's like really good guys, and then there's guys that suck.
Yeah.
And like those guys will be out of the league. The good guys are going to make good money. The great ones are going to be remembered forever. But it's all about the situation around them. That is literally like the entirety of the conversation. And I mentioned like me shanking a punt on our comeback and maybe giving the other team field position where they can kick a field goal, and Luck wins another one, or Luck loses a game and he wasn't able to finish it. Because it's me, it's like the Brock Purdy story at Cleveland. You remember how dominant Cleveland was at home, that defense and everything like that? Mm-hmm. Without Debo gets hurt in that game,
and
right?
Trent,
and we're watching without Trent Williams. If Moody makes a kick,
missed field goal.
But Brock Purdy goes into Cleveland without Debo, without his left tackle, and wins. But Moody, who was an incredible, I love Mood. Mood's a good dude. He stepped in there, big games immediately. He's a great player. You're going to miss a kick every once in a while. But Brock gets blamed for that 3-game slot. He's like, well, he came back to earth. Remember, he threw a couple picks. It's like, they win that game. Nobody even remembers that. So it's just, It's a fucking wild position to talk about. And because there's so many things that go into the success of everybody on the field in football. Obviously, the quarterback, who's dependent upon everybody.
I mean, look at Jalen Hurts. Like 2 years ago, he almost wins the MVP, and he takes the Eagles to the Super Bowl, and then he loses his offensive coordinator, who's one of the best play callers in the NFL, and then last year doesn't play as good. The Eagles kind of implode, and now it's like, hey, this guy can't crack the top 10. Where he was highest paid quarter at the time, highest contract ever. Like we were talking about him being like a top 5 quarterback.
So let's look at these situations and say, okay, which ones look like they're going to be successful? Okay, Chiefs, Yeah.
For sure.
Cincy, yeah, I'm thinking they're going to be just because they're going to be able to keep
They'll
Burrow.
be awesome.
I think Josh Allen is always going to have that Buffalo Bills team good, but I think there's some question. You know,
Rebuild a new receiver.
Top
room,
2.
basically.
There's
Good tight ends, good run game, but
like, is Von Miller going to come back and be like Vaughn?
Yeah. I mean, Poyer's gone. Is Micah going to come back? They lost Trey White. Mitch Morris, their starting center's gone.
It's like I believe in Josh Allen, but if the team is not if they have a tough year, people are just going to kill Josh Allen?
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They're just going to murder Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, he has Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's going to be very good this year.
And Patrick Ricard.
And he won MVP last year.
Yeah, and Isaiah Likely.
That's the one, though, that is a little bit more interesting to me than the Allen one. Like, those two receivers. Well, because those two receivers in Baltimore, there is a little bit of an unknown. I like in Buffalo, I know that tailback is dynamic in the pass game. I know those two tight ends are dynamic in the pass game. Can Rashad Bateman stay healthy long enough to kind of allow his talent to...
Likely and Andrews.
Those are two really good tight ends.
Derrick Henry. Pat Ricard.
Totally, but...
Zay Flowers.
But
Zay Flowers. The Bills' number one wide receiver is a rookie.
Next step.
They got Chase Claypool, too. Let's not forget that.
Zay's got to take that big step. You know,
Could you imagine if he is Mapletron one time again? He was so much fun.
It was.
Whenever he was a rookie with Ben Roethlisberger.
All time.
So much fun. He was so much fun to watch.
11-0.
He did say top 3. You got to have that attitude.
That's right. That's right.
We know that. But you said Baltimore, more question from Buffalo. Okay, let's continue to do that. How about the Rams, like with Stafford? Like, Stafford obviously...
I think they're going to be awesome.
Awesome? You think the Rams are going to be awesome?
Awesome. I think the Rams are going to be as difficult an offense to contend that we have in the league, maybe San Francisco, but like the Rams' offensive line is going to be awesome. They took Blake Corum, so their 1-2 with Kyron is going to be devastating. The two receivers are fantastic, when it comes to like winning on the edge. So I think the Rams' offense is going to be. I don't think Stafford throws for a gajillion yards because they're going to run the ball so much.
Okay, a gajillion would be insane, but that's a Stafford thing.
Yeah, and their defense is worse now, though. So, like, if their defense loses games and the team isn't as good as a whole, but he get buried.
Boom, he'll get buried.
Yeah.
But he'll have Cooper Kupp back, so who cares what happens on defensive side?
And no Aaron Donald.
That's a huge.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah.
Too, right?
What's that?
Didn't Raheem?
Yeah,
he's gone.
So
Yeah.
DC gone?
And their
OC's
and the OC
gone. Yeah.
went with them.
Well, you got still got.
You got
shot.
McAfee, yeah.
He's got great hair still.
He does.
Yeah.
Let's go to Hurt. Did you see that building? Clean.
Unbelievable.
I thought their owners didn't spend money.
Yeah.
Wasn't that kind of the thing?
Yeah, everyone said they're cheapskates.
But the practice facility is the one you got to pay for, right? Isn't that something that you have to pay? Or
They might
That
have found a
owner,
loophole.
that owner won with the Avalanche as well, and the Rams Super Bowl. A lot of money with Arsenal
Good
as well
point.
came in.
Kroenke.
Yeah.
Chargers?
No,
you're talking about Chargers.
Kroenke owns
Oh, I thought you were
Rams.
talking about Rams. Sorry.
No. Chargers. The Bolt is their new
Oh, my
practice
God.
facility.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
It was really
So
really nice. Like, we're talking
State of the art.
Harbaugh effect.
in Southern California, too. That's like a very expensive real estate, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So they had to invest a lot of money in that. You bring Harbaugh in there. I think Herbert's in a great, right? Darius, you picked the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. What was that, the last 3 years in a row?
A couple years ago.
This year is like a real conversation almost, it feels.
I expect the playoff win.
No.
I expect the playoff win. I don't expect the Super Bowl run, but I expect
Chargers?
the playoff win.
They lost everybody.
Don't have any receivers.
Dude, their
Keenan
skill
Allen,
group
Mike
is
Williams,
brutal.
Austin Eckler.
Okay, all right. Man,
They got Joe Alt, though, and he's a big son of a bitch.
Yeah, they got Harbaugh. The only thing I think about is Harbaugh.
Yeah.
That is literally all. Harbaugh's going to figure out how to win a football game. That's
Harbaugh
legitimately how I view things. Chargers, though, all right. Texans, we think he's going to go back-to-back? CJ?
As far as win the division?
Yeah, I think team.
Yeah, I think they're. Obviously they're loaded. I still believe that if Anthony plays the whole season the way he did the first couple games last year, I think he could throw the whole conference into, like a tailspin. So Houston's loaded. They've got versatile weapons on offense. Everyone's got a unique role.
If they don't win multiple playoff games this year, sophomore slump
Yeah.
for CJ. Sure. That's literally what's coming around the corner, which is like it's just so ridiculous, I think. But hey, Dan, we appreciate you taking up 30 minutes with us on this glorious day. And I appreciate that we're going to change the narrative around the conversation about the quarterbacks.
Yes,
that's what we're doing, Dan. We're going to help you. We're going to help you on your mission, if that's okay.
You guys, best journalists going.